This week, our focus is on climate, and we start with a big battle going on in California. When it comes to clean energy, many believe that as California goes, so goes the nation. It has the nation's toughest climate laws. So what happens if California voters strip away those laws? Might the rest of the country follow suit? In this week's Energy Now Spotlight, Chief Correspondent Tyler Suiters takes a closer look at the coming battle of the ballot.
You'd think oil companies would wake up after the disaster in the Gulf of Mexico. But no, now they're attacking standards in California.
Actor Edward James Olmos is decades removed from his award-winning turns in Miami Vice and Stand and Deliver. His latest role, speaking out against a campaign to ease California's environmental regulations.
California doesn't need more pollution. Vote no on the dirty energy proposition.
Better known as Proposition 23, or the California Jobs Act. On November 2nd, California voters will decide whether or not to mothball the nation's most stringent clean energy laws. Enacted in 2006, AB 32, also called the Global Warming Solutions Act, is a bipartisan effort to clean up California's air, rely more heavily on renewable energy, and force polluters to pay. Under the law, which grows its sharpest teeth in 2020, California would become the nation's leader at cutting greenhouse gas emissions.
We simply must do everything that we can in our power to slow down global warming.
Critics say AB 32 will supplement clean energy jobs with public funding, and traditional energy jobs will dry up.
California is the only state in the union doing this. So for us to go it alone, we'll lose over 1 million jobs.
But the state says the law is creating jobs like these at a solar manufacturing company in Silicon Valley. In part because of AB 32, California is the country's clean tech leader. The state's Environmental Protection Agency says 60% of the money invested in the U.S. clean technology sector arrives in California. Danny Kennedy moved to the Golden State for that very reason.
Up the back is finance. These are the important people, the accountants. We feed them well.
The clean energy advocate from Australia recognized what California's clean energy laws could do for his company.
I don't think that would have been there if there hadn't been this strong political statement from the top down saying, we support the clean economy, we want to make it grow, here's the enabling legislation to do that.
Kennedy is a former Greenpeace policy wonk, now leading a startup called Sungevity. The company can design a custom home solar electricity system entirely by computer in Oakland, California, without actually visiting your house.
We can do that sitting here, even if it's in Arizona or Colorado or wherever.
And according to Kennedy, without AB 32, the Golden State's glitter would be gone.
If you were a startup just getting going at this time, it would be hard to raise that risk capital to get the people to join the company on the prospect of a long-term career, because there's just this question mark.
Here are the guts of AB 32. California wants to reduce its carbon dioxide emissions, returning to the state's 1990 levels by 2020. Companies that exceed their allowed amount of carbon emissions will have to pay for their excess pollution. California will require that a minimum of its electricity comes from renewable resources like hydropower, geothermal, and solar, 33% by 2020. And the state will implement a low-carbon fuel standard. Proponents say those measures will lower California's greenhouse gas emissions. But critics complain AB 32 would lower California's employment rate.
AB 32, it's kind of trend-setting towards high unemployment, and we're leading the nation third highest. And so what we have to do is set the trend on reversing that high unemployment rate and try to get it back down to where it should be.
Under Proposition 23, all of the California clean energy regulations spawned by AB 32 would be shelved unless state unemployment falls to or below 5.5% over an entire year. California unemployment right now is about 12%. But Logue says that level was below 5% when AB 32 was signed into law in 2006.
The jobs that they propose are subsidized. So when you have jobs that are 60% subsidized, you're taking the resources out of businesses that create wealth, and you're shifting them to businesses that can't stand alone.
But California's EPA says that employment decline would have been even worse without clean tech jobs. According to the state, the number of U.S. clean technology jobs grew 5% from 2007 to 2008. But the employment rate for the rest of the economy shrank by 1%. The author of Proposition 23 tells me he came up with the idea for the measure right here at the state capitol in Sacramento about 1.5 years ago, not long after he first took office. But environmental groups opposed to the plan say the real push is coming from Texas. the home of big oil. Andy Nodoff is with the Natural Resources Defense Council.
Right, more than 90% of all the money to repeal AB 32 is coming from out of state.
The biggest donors are Valero and Tesoro, both based in San Antonio, and they account for the majority of the funding. The companies refine oil, and their California operations would be profoundly affected by the state's plans to cut carbon emissions and wean drivers off gasoline. Neither Valero nor Tesoro would discuss Proposition 23 with us.
The oil industry creates over 700,000 jobs, directly and indirectly in California. They create energy that is 3 to 7 times cheaper than the green economy.
But this Paramount Petroleum facility outside of Los Angeles is proof that AB 32 won't affect all refineries equally. Jeff Morris heads up Paramount's parent company.
We're in a different situation than some other refiners because we made this choice. Already we have a low emissions refinery. Why is that? Because we choose to make asphalt.
And that choice, producing asphalt but not fuel, means fewer carbon emissions than other oil refiners like Valero and Tesoro. So California's largest asphalt producer, Paramount, is better suited to handle stricter regulations. Paramount and the rest of California will know more by the end of this year. The state's Environmental Protection Agency promises to adopt the new greenhouse gas rules by January 1st of 2011. Unless Prop 23 derails those regulations. Either way, Paramount is ready.
We have structured our business around being successful in an environment of AB 32. So actually, competitively, we may be better off if the ballot initiative does not pass.
The manufacturing will leave the country. It'll go to China and Mexico and India.
We've been creating jobs through the recession here in this company and across the spectrum. And this is like taking a baseball bat to that job creation machine.
Job killer or job creator? Golden State voters will have their say on November 2nd. In California, Tyler Suiters, Energy Now.